as called for by international law and countless UN resolutions. Ladies and gentlemen, let us view this solemn commemoration as a call to action for renewed hope. Let us forge a decisive path towards ending the Israeli occupation that began in 1967 and achieving a just and lasting peace between Israel and the State of Palestine, of which East Jerusalem and Gaza are and must remain an integral part, and securing the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. This will serve as the strongest foundation for peace and security in the Middle East and beyond. I thank you. It is also my honor and pleasure to welcome Mr. Dennis Francis, President of the General Assembly. I now have the honor of giving the floor to the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency, Mr. Dennis Francis.
His Excellency Ahmad Faisal Mohammed, Vice Chair of the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General, His Excellency Zhang Jun, President of the Security Council, His Excellency Riyad Mansour, Permanent Observer of the State of Palestine, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests. Today we convoke here in New York and in Geneva, Nairobi, as well in other places around the world, to observe the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, an annual commemoration that reflects our steadfast commitment to unify around the cause of Palestine. This year, we mark this occasion against the unfortunate backdrop of a somber horizon, tinged by the extant constraints for peace and recognizing the profound challenges faced by the people of the State of Palestine. Challenges that have persisted for too long, despite decades of successive UN resolutions and countless diplomatic efforts aimed at achieving a just and lasting solution. Indeed, 75 years ago, the situation in the Middle East marked the first significant crisis for the newly established United Nations. The situation not only remains unresolved, but it is deteriorating before our very eyes at an alarming rate, with innocent civilians, especially women, children, and the elderly, bearing the brunt of drawn-out violence, deprivation, and uncertainty. Therefore, today, we are here to stand in firm solidarity with the Palestinian people, commemorating this day, albeit with heavy hearts, for the lives lost, both in the past 7 weeks and over the past 7 decades. Our deepest condolences go to the families who have lost relatives in this grievous conflict. Excellencies, the Palestinian people, particularly those in the Gaza Strip and all affected areas, live in extremely complex humanitarian conditions that demand both our attention and an immediate action. let us be crystal clear. The Palestinian people, as all human beings, are entitled to their fundamental and inalienable right to live in dignity, with all liberties, freedom of movement, freedom from fear and from any want, and with unfettered access to basic services. It is therefore imperative that we restore and sustain their hope, especially among the younger generations that have never experienced what peace looks or feels like. By doing so, we will have fulfilled our duty of care in reaffirming the fundamental principle that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Thus, upholding these basic tenets is key to fostering a just, sustainable, and peaceful future for all Palestinian people. But for us to ensure that every Palestinian sees these inalienable rights as realized and respected, first and foremost, we need permanent peace in the Middle East. Second, we need to re-engage in dialogue in good faith, building trust, while adhering to the relevant UN resolutions and international instruments. We know much too well that insecurity and violence thrive in an atmosphere of tragedy and despair, that violence begets violence. Dear colleagues and friends, as we reiterate the General Assembly's undiminished call for peace, we too must advocate for open channels of communication, accompanied by robust support from the international community, leading to the two-state solution as the only viable option for lasting peace in the Middle East. With this, I welcome the ongoing diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions, and I support all efforts to mobilize UN capacities to implement this truce and maximize its positive impact on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. These days of respite from hostilities must be optimized to alleviate the dire needs of Palestinians, allowing them to mourn their dead, to have unhindered access to food and water, as well as other urgently needed services. In the past weeks, I have been very clear on the most critically needed steps now to bring an end to violence and needless suffering. Ultimately, our role is to devise and to encourage and press for implementation of long-term solutions. We, the United Nations, cannot lose sight of one of the ultimate and primary goals that brought our organization into being, which is, of course, peace for all. We should repeat that. Peace for all. I therefore appeal in earnest to the international community to leverage its power to seek compromise, direct dialogue, while fostering trust and good faith negotiations in the Middle East. The General Assembly has expressed itself on the current situation. Let us implement the peace it has repeatedly called for. Excellencies, dear colleagues, in closing, once again, let me express my deep appreciation to the dedicated UNRWA staff and other humanitarian workers who are working tirelessly to save lives in grave and untenable conditions, and extend my deepest condolences to the families of those who lost their lives in the pursuit of this noble cause. In our reflection today, let us remember the words of Palestinian author and lawyer Raja Shehadeh, that, and I quote, "In the pursuit of peace, we must recognize the shared aspirations for security and dignity that bind Israelis and Palestinians. It's a journey that demands mutual respect and acknowledgement of each other's narratives. Together, let us strive for a future where the aspirations of the Palestinian people are realized within the framework of justice, equality, and the respect of their inalienable rights as human beings, no different from others. I express my gratitude to you all. Let us stand united in these difficult times. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Dennis Francis for his important statement. Our committee is thankful for your stewardship of the Assembly in addressing the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, including through the 27 October resolution during the 10th Emergency Special Session. I now have the honor of giving the floor to His Excellency Mr. Zhang Jun, Permanent Representative of China, in his capacity as the President of the Security Council. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairperson, Excellencies, dear colleagues, this year marks the 30th anniversary of the commencement of the Oslo process, which reminds us that a just, lasting, and comprehensive solution in accordance with international law and the relevant UN resolutions to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict can only be achieved by peaceful means. This support of the international community has been and will continue to be crucial in this regard. During the past year, the Security Council has remained seized of the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question. The Council received reports, briefings from the Secretary General, his special coordinator, and the relevant UN agencies and the departments on regular basis, and convened discussions accordingly. The Council convened additional meetings in response to concerning developments on the grounds. On February the 20th, the Council adopted a presidential statement regarding Israel's announcement of further construction and expansion of settlements, as well as the legalization of settlement outposts, expressed its opposition to all unilateral measures that impede peace, including Israeli settlement activities, which are dangerously imperiling the viability of the two-state solution based on the 1967 lines, and reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to the vision of the two-state solution. Mr. Chairperson, this year's observance of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people comes at a tumultuous time for Palestinians, Israelis, and the region. The Council has been closely monitoring the latest round of Israel-Palestine crisis that began on October the 7th. On November the 15th, the Council adopted Resolution 2712, the first resolution.